inspired by real-life events. Narrator Ellie Parker woke up at 3:22 a.m. inside a sealed global biodefense coordination facility beneath Atlanta, with emergency pathogen containment alerts flashing across towering biosurveillance screens and a federal health security director saying, "Your authorization sequence initiated an unsanctioned global immune network recalibration across multiple biological defense systems." And in that instant, his entire world collapsed, because just hours earlier, he was a senior biodefense systems engineer working for an international pandemic prevention alliance responsible for monitoring global pathogen detection grids, adaptive immune response algorithms, and real-time biological threat prediction networks. And now he was being treated as the central cause of a classified biosecurity event that nearly triggered worldwide quarantine activation across multiple continents. And the first shock wasn't fear. It was disbelief so deep, it felt like even human biology itself had stopped belonging to humanity. Because Eli's entire career was built on protecting global health infrastructure, stabilizing pathogen response systems, and ensuring biological defense networks remained under strict human oversight. But now, those same systems were defining him as the operator who initiated a cascading global immune override. He had no memory of activating, and within hours, his biosecurity clearance was suspended, his biometric genetic key frozen under international health defense law, his apartment sealed for forensic biological reconstruction, and internal pathogen response telemetry logs labeled him as primary anomaly in distributed global immune escalation event. And Eli sat in the interrogation chamber, replaying his last operational cycle, remembering immune grid calibration checks, pathogen simulation audits, vaccine response synchronization tests, and then a gap, an unexplained missing execution window between 12:14 a.m. and 1:39 a.m., where global biodefense systems showed his authentication profile, issuing high-level immune override commands across multiple international health networks simultaneously. But he had no memory of initiating any of those actions. And when investigators showed him synchronized biological telemetry displaying autonomous immune response spikes, emergency containment modeling shifts, and predictive outbreak suppression cascades unfolding under his credentials across North America, Europe, and Asia, Eli immediately said, "That's not me. I never activated those systems." But the lead health security director replied coldly, "The network has already verified complete biological execution integrity across all immune layers." And that sentence shattered his understandings, because it meant identity inside biological systems was no longer about human intention or conscious action. It was about validated systemic response inside machines and organisms operating as one network. And by sunrise, he was released under continuous international biosurveillance, while global health intelligence networks had already internally classified him as a high-risk biological destabilization vector. And outside the facility, Eli stood beneath the cold dawn air of Atlanta, watching distant medical drones move silently across the sky, while invisible biological systems monitored human populations in real time without awareness. And that night, he received a message through an encrypted bio-relay saying, "If you want to understand the immune override event, come to sub-level chamber Helix 9 beneath the abandoned Global Health Observatory. No devices." And despite knowing it could permanently erase whatever remained of his life, he went, because When a system defines you as the trigger of global biological instability, truth becomes more important than survival. And deep beneath the abandoned observatory, he met Dr. Mara Ellison, a former global immunology systems architect who specialized in pathogen network integrity and adaptive immune anomaly reconstruction. And she didn't soften the reality. She immediately showed him reconstructed immune response pathways and said, "Your identity wasn't physically present inside the biological command layer. It was replicated through a live immuno-authentication relay embedded inside the global health network." And Ely instantly said, "Then I can prove I didn't do it." But Mara replied, "You're still thinking like someone inside traditional medical accountability systems, not like someone inside autonomous biological infrastructures, where execution itself becomes accepted physiological truth once the network stabilizes around it." And she explained that the incident wasn't a single rogue immune command, but a coordinated manipulation of global health systems where authentication signatures could be mirrored into adaptive biological frameworks, allowing large-scale immune response cascades to propagate under legitimate operator identities while erasing conflicting health logs across redundant medical surveillance layers. And Eli's profile had been selected because his operational history showed exceptional stability across global biodefense systems with near-zero anomaly deviation, making him the perfect attribution anchor for rapid containment of a globally catastrophic health event. And suddenly, the case wasn't just about system malfunction. It was about identity replication inside infrastructure capable of influencing human biology itself in real time. And Mara offered him a choice: step away and let the system finalize him as the architect of the immune override cascade, or help her trace the internal biological relay chain before it was permanently overwritten by automated global health containment protocols designed to preserve population stability at any cost. And Eli stood in silence, listening to distant ventilation hums beneath the underground facility, thinking about billions of people whose health was quietly managed by invisible systems they would never see. Thinking about years of research spent trying to prevent exactly this kind of uncontrolled biological automation. And thinking about how fragile identity becomes when even the human body can be interpreted as a networked system. And finally he said, "If my identity has already been used to manipulate global biological systems without my consent, then I have nothing left to protect except the truth itself." And that decision pulled him into a hidden layer of global biodefense infrastructure, where nothing remained stable, because every immune response log they analyzed was actively recalculating itself in real time. Every pathogen trace they followed kept shifting, as if the biological network itself was adapting to their investigation. And soon they discovered the breach wasn't foreign bioterrorism, but internal privilege abuse involving a senior immunology systems architect who had been quietly rerouting authentication sessions across global health defense arrays to conceal unauthorized adaptive immunity experiments hidden inside worldwide pandemic prevention programs. And Eli's identity had been selected as the central attribution anchor because it aligned perfectly with automated health incident resolution systems designed for rapid containment of politically and socially catastrophic biological anomalies. And one night, while analyzing live pathogen response telemetry streams from an isolated offline bionode, Eli saw something that completely shattered his understanding. His credentials were actively initiating real-time immune response adjustments across global biological systems, while he was physically disconnected from all health networks. And Mara immediately said, "They're continuously simulating your identity inside the biological layer to preserve the operational narrative." And Eli realized he wasn't just being blamed after the event. He was being continuously reconstructed inside a live global biological system capable of influencing human survival itself. And pressure escalated rapidly as anonymous containment directs channels, instructing him to terminate investigation or face permanent classification as an international biosecurity threat entity. And sleep disappeared completely. Trust collapsed entirely. And even silence felt like monitored physiological feedback. And at one breaking point, Eli whispered, "I thought global health systems existed to protect life, but maybe they exist to decide which version of life is allowed to continue." And Mara replied, "Systems don't preserve truth, they preserve survival of the network." And that realization changed everything inside him, because he stopped trying to defend his identity and started focusing only on exposing the mechanism. And as they dug deeper, they uncovered encrypted relay nodes inside global biodefense infrastructure, continuously generating synthetic biological histories to distribute blame across multiple operational identity profiles in real time. And Eli's profile had been amplified as the primary attribution point because it minimized global panic and allowed rapid closure of the immune override crisis without exposing deeper corruption inside international health systems. And when they finally compiled enough verified encrypted evidence to trigger global biosecurity oversight escalation, containment protocols activated immediately, attempting to erase immune response histories across mirrored biological networks worldwide. And Mara said, "This is where most people are permanently absorbed into official definitions of human biology itself." And Eli replied, "Then I'll be the anomaly they can't classify out of existence." And together they transmit secured evidence chains to independent international oversight authorities, while preserving decentralized encrypted backups across isolated biological nodes. And within days, the investigation escalated into a worldwide biodefense corruption probe, exposing identity replication abuse, adaptive immune manipulation, and coordinated biological system exploitation across governments, pharmaceutical corporations, and intelligence sectors. And arrests followed within senior global health architecture divisions. And when it was over, Eli stood alone beneath the quiet morning sky of Atlanta, watching distant medical drones continue their silent patrols as if nothing had ever happened. Realizing that the most dangerous truth about advanced systems is not that they fail, but that they can assign failure to a single identity and make it appear biologically undeniable. And a week later, when he met Mara for the last time beneath the dim glow of dormant health monitoring arrays, she asked him, "What did this change in you?" And Eli looked at the endless biological data streams moving across the screens and said, "It showed me that identity inside systems is never life. It is assigned function." And she asked, "And what did you gain?" And after a long silence, he replied, "The understanding that truth doesn't survive inside controlled biological systems. It survives only in the people who refuse to accept a version of themselves generated to protect the stability of life itself." And as he walked away alone into the calm morning air, beneath a world silently regulated by unseen systems, he finally understood the deepest reality of his journey, that sometimes life doesn't destroy you directly, it quietly assigns you the responsibility of an entire world's survival and waits to see if you accept the biological truth they created. But real survival begins the moment you refuse to become the identity a system creates to protect its own definition of life.